He saw and he believed. It was like taking a final piece of a huge puzzle and placing it in the center that makes the whole picture complete. This picture, this image, has a focal point of the garden. A garden that was painted of paradise. A garden that we were given to share in, to live in, to be one. But as we know with that garden of paradise was lost because we made that choice not to live in harmony with God, to allow His image that He instilled within us to be the image that we reflect in the decisions that we make. But that garden comes back to us, and it's like a hologram. As we look at it, we see more and more depth. And in that garden that was lost, then we see that the garden for a moment in time is overshadowed by a hill of Calvary that represented death, darkness, despair, and evil. But as we look deeper into that picture, we once again see that a garden has been regained. A garden that held a tomb. That now this garden, this paradise was lost, is now a paradise that's been regained. Where we see now how life triumphs over death. That light triumphs over darkness. That goodness triumphs over evil. The resurrection of Jesus is prefigured in John's Gospel by the raising of Lazarus. But the two stories are massively different. When Lazarus is raised from the tomb, which is the last scene before Jesus will move into the Last Supper, the washing of the feet, and his crucifixion, when Lazarus comes out of that tomb, he's covered in the burial clothes. He has to be untied. He has to let others let go of those. And Lazarus will ultimately die again. But with Jesus, he leaves his grave clothes in the tomb. In fact, they're even neatly kind of put aside. When Jesus leaves out of the tomb, no one needs to untie him. And when he leaves the tomb, he leaves everything of death behind. What Jesus represents to us in this event that we celebrate is that Jesus now lives beyond time and space. He lives with a new intensity. He's still human and present among us, but it's a human nature that is intensified, that flows, and now is given to us in his life. And we who share, we who represent, we who say we believe in the resurrection, what we're capable of receiving and God's hope that we will give is that we will live as that resurrectional presence with a new intense level in our lives, both spiritualized and glorified. And that doesn't mean that we live in a world and escape in a fantasy. Easter is about reality. Jesus knew reality. Jesus knew betrayal and loss. He knew suffering and death. As with Lazarus, he cried. He knew the massiveness that evil could happen in life. He understood what it meant to have someone right in your midst to betray you as they shared a meal together and as he washed that person's foot. Jesus knew all those things, and he still loved. He still continued to give of his life and be vulnerable to understand with his own life that he will take on the hurt in order to continue to reveal how he cares for the world until its end. And that is how we also are joined and called to join in his presence. That as we who share in the resurrection and the belief of what had happened to Christ has that new intensity living in and through us in a level that also changes the way we live, that we will live beyond those who have hurt us, who have betrayed us. When we in our own lives have suffered misfortunes. Every time that we love another person, we share in the resurrection. Every time that we face betrayal and don't give up on life, we share in the resurrection. Every time that we give in to temptation, but yet not give up on trying to do better, we share in the resurrection. Every time we continue to hope, when our hopes seem to be unanswerable, we give proof to the resurrection. All these things, the living of the resurrection means that no pain or sin or death or loss can be over or lost, because Christ takes that and changes its meaning to a new beginning. Being an Easter people, sharing an Easter celebration, is a time for us to take on that renewal life and allow Christ once again to enter into the fullness of our lives and the intensity that he brings to us as he escapes time and space, but still is human, that we in our bodily presence, we continue to be that oneness with Christ and how we live. When Mary came to the tomb, she was expecting to see and find a dead body, to honor Jesus, but to honor a death that was lost. And in 2 days' time, if we just carry on this gospel for just a few more verses, we would see that after she ran and told those disciples, she came back and she found more than she ever expected. And sometimes in our lives, the hopes and dreams, what we expect and want and we think that we need, are not granted. But in our belief in the resurrection and our staying connected to Christ, that he can take and reshape us to find a wonder well beyond what we could ever imagine. The beloved disciple today saw and believed. May what people see in our lives, the way that we live, the intensity that we live on a higher level, and how we choose to live in one another and connected to our world, that what they see, they also then may come to believe.